Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, I'm going to do a brand new beginner's guide. Now, I did a lot of beginner guides when the game first came out, but a lot of new players are just now playing the game since its half anniversary, and they've been asking me to create a beginner's guide because they don't really understand which characters they should invest in. So in this video, we're mostly going to talk about which characters you should invest in as a new player, which characters you should build, and what you should mainly focus on at the early stage of the game. But before I get started on the video, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. And I also have a Discord server, so if you guys are interested, you can join the server by going to my channel description. You see the server link there, and I'll also post a server link in the comment section down below. But anyways, let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into the video. Now, as a beginner player, the number one thing that you should focus on is adventure mode, which is PvE. Adventure mode will carry your account progression and you will become stronger. You shouldn't really focus on PvP because PvP, as a beginner player, you're not going to start off really strong, so you won't get a lot of rewards like suspendum in PvP. So you should mostly focus on adventure mode. So let's go ahead and talk about which characters you should mostly focus on for adventure mode. So when we come over here to characters, the number one character that will literally carry you from floor 1 to like floor 15 or 20 is Hwaryun. Hwaryun is literally the top beginner character in the game because she can provide barrier to your team. She can increase your team's swiftness when she does that little pathway, and she can also increase your team's attack and crit. So there's a lot of things she can do. She can also provide barrier to your team, so she's like an all-around unit, and she can do some really good damage as well. So Hwaryun, she is really good at the beginning phase of the game, does amazing damage. Her support capabilities are really good, and if you're wondering which ignition weapon set you want to put on this character, you want to put on the Runda set. This set will increase her survivability, and she will also provide barrier to your teammates. So this set really good for her, and you also want to level up her exclusive equipment for sure. Now, another thing beginner players should be aware of is that when you're leveling up your character's report, swiftness is really good. You get like additional swiftness right here, but the number one thing that's extremely important for report is the 100 accuracy and the 100 evasion. You don't want to level up the wrong character's report. Let's say you level up this character right here. Let's say you level up her report. She's not really that good. It costs a lot of you have to send the character a lot of gifts. It's going to require a ton of gifts in order for you to reach 100 accuracy. So you want to make sure that you're using it on the right character who's going to carry you far in adventure mode. So Hwaryun, she is definitely a unit you should invest in the early phase of the game. She will carry you by a lot, especially when you have a lot of evasion on her. So like the top stats you should mainly focus on is accuracy, evasion, and of course swiftness. For DPS characters, you mostly want to focus on accuracy, and for support characters, you want to focus on swiftness so that they can do their special skill and active skill as much as possible. And evasion is pretty much good on every single character. So there's like a lot of stats you have to focus on in order for a character to be good. But like I said, the top stats for support characters are swiftness. HP is also pretty good depending on which stat the support character scales off of, if they're healing or providing barrier. And you also want to focus on things like effect resistance so that you can increase the character's survivability, magic resistance, physical resistance, and yeah, that's pretty much it. When it comes to crit rate, crit damage, magic pierce, physical pierce, those are mainly for DPS characters. But for support characters, you mostly want to focus on that effect resistance, magic resistance, physical pierce, not physical pierce, but physical resistance, and one of the main stats right here where the support character is going to scale off of, for example, HP, attack, or defense. So that's pretty much like the basics of stats and how you're supposed to invest in your character. Now, Hwaryun, of course, she's number one. Now, the next character you definitely want to focus on as well is none other than Yiwa. Now, Yiwa is one of the top DPS units in the game. This character is absolutely insane. Her damage is crazy. The reason why she's cracked is because her special skill is like a huge AoE attack. It will cover the entire battlefield, and she's just gonna continuously do nuclear damage over and over again. So Yiwa is definitely a good character you want to invest in. She doesn't even require a lot of accuracy, to be honest. Like, getting a lot of accuracy is good, but even with like around 300 accuracy, she can still land some nuclear damage. But even though, you know, if you still get more accuracy on her, she's going to do insane damage. So you want to make sure that you have around like 400 accuracy or 450 to do for her to actually land her attack. So Yiwa definitely up there as one of the top DPS units, so you definitely want to use her. And if you're wondering which exclusive equipment, not exclusive equipment, but which ignition weapon you want to use on her, you want to use the ill set. It's going to increase her attack speed, and yeah, and also increase her attack by like 50%. So this character really strong, especially in the beginning phase of the game and the late game phase as well. So Yiwa, you definitely want to pick her up. Now, if you guys are wondering about these units right here, which is Rachel, I'm not going to recommend these characters because if you're a brand new player, you won't even have access to unlock these characters, because these characters were only, you can only unlock these characters in the collab event, and the collab event happened during November or December, and you know that's already gone, so there's no way you can get these collab characters. So Rachel, I'm not even going to talk about her because you can't even get her anymore if you're a brand new player, which kind of sucks, to be honest, but there's nothing I can do about it. So Rachel, she is a good unit, but if you just now joined the game like right before the collab event ended and you ended up getting Rachel, you definitely want to use Rachel as well, because she is really good against bosses and adventure mode as well. So Rachel, really solid unit. But like I said, a lot of brand new players started on like January, or like as of to right now for like the anniversary, the half anniversary, so you won't have access to this character. Now, another character that you definitely want to use, and this character is going to be an SSR plus character, is going to be none other than Data Zahar. Now Data Zahar, this guy is busted. He is broken. He is by far the best warrior unit in the game, and the reason why he's so good is because, one, survivability. He can survive throughout the entire battle. He will tank almost every single damage that the enemy will place on him. Like, he would just eat everything. He would just tank every single attack that the enemy does to him. He's just such a tanky unit, and he just has so many things happening in his kit. The fact that he's able to, you know, shred shields, apply bleeding to the enemy. He's also able to decrease the enemy's defense. He can do so many things on the battlefield, is absolutely insane, and he can do some pretty decent damage as well. If you build him up and you actually invest in his character, he can do some crazy damage. And the main reason why he is so good is because he literally requires no investment. Like, you guys can clearly see that I have no stars on him, but his performance is still good. So that's the reason why Data Zahar is literally the best warrior unit in the game, because he requires low investment. He's really easy to use, and he's just tanky. He can survive for a long time, and he can do so many things in his kit, which is bleeding, reducing defense, shredding shields. He has counterattack. Like, he just has so many things in his kit. It's just crazy. So Data Zahar definitely up there as one of the best warrior units in the game. And if you're wondering which ignition weapons you want to use on him, you want to use the Bergamot set. The Bergamot set is literally good on him because you have lifesteal, and that's going to increase his survivability even more. Lifesteal basically allows the wielder to heal based off of how many damage they did to the enemy. So you want to use the Bergamot set on him because that's going to increase his survivability. So that's pretty much Data Zahar. Now, for the next character, we have Evankhell. Now, Evankhell is another SSR plus unit. She doesn't require a ton of investment, but the more you level up her, like the more stars you have on her, she can do some insane damage. And I'll say like the only problem with Evankhell is that she can be squishy, but other than that, like, she's a really good damage dealing unit, probably like the best damage dealer SSR plus unit we have so far. Her damage is insane, and I feel like she definitely has potential, but when it comes to her being squishy, that can be a problem. But if you can manage to keep this character alive, she can literally carry you far in adventure mode. So Evankhell, definitely an SSR plus unit you also want to pick up. Now another SSR unit, and this character is for free, you literally get him at the beginning of the game, and that is none other than Bomb. Bomb is such a good unit, and yes, I have his exclusive equipment at 0. I know I'm an idiot, but Bomb, he is such an amazing unit. The reason why he's so good is because he's like one of the best battery units in the game. He provides energy to your ally. He also increases attack, which is really good. So pairing him up with Yua is just absolutely amazing, because he will allow Yua to instantly use her special skill, and she's just going to erase everything in the battlefield. So Bomb is definitely a unit you want to pick up, because he is easy to build. He requires low investment. All you need from Bomb is him, like the only thing you need from this character is for him to provide energy, additional attack, and that's it. That's all you need from Bomb. So that's the main reason why he's good. And yeah, Bomb, awesome unit, and the fact that you get him for free once you play the game is really good. So you definitely want to play as Bomb. Now another character we have is none other than Kun Aguero. Now Kun Aguero, this guy, he is by far the best, I wouldn't say best purple support unit, because you have gusting, but Kun Aguero is definitely up there as one of the top support units, and the reason why he's so good is because of his passive and his special skill. So for his passive, he can basically provide an additional attack for your purple element allies. So he's going to be really good in purple teams. So let's say you have Joaquin, you're using Joaquin in adventure mode. Kun Aguero, he is perfect for Joaquin because he will increase Joaquin's attack because of his passive. And for his special skill, he literally has like an AoE stun where he can paralyze a group of enemies and decrease their defense by, like, you know, a certain percentage, whether like you level up his special move. If you level up his special move, you can increase the defense shred even more. Right now I have it at like 35%, but his special move is really good because he can just shred defense, and on top of that he can do like an AoE stun, which is crazy. So Kun Aguero, definitely up there. He doesn't really require a lot of accuracy, to be honest, because the only thing you need him for is the special move and the passive, and that's pretty much it. The other stuff, they're good as well, because he can provide barrier to one of your allies, and he can also grant status effect immunity, which is really good. So Kun Aguero is definitely like the top unit if you're trying to build a purple team. So Kun Aguero, definitely up there. Now another purple unit that's really good is Joaquin. Joaquin is literally the best DPS in the game. He's the best DPS in the game because his damage is just insane. The fact that he's able to one-shot multiple enemies like instantly is just crazy. His survivability is really good when you put Bergamot set on him. When you put this set and you increase his lifesteal, he will just instantly shred enemies in adventure mode. Is just crazy. So Joaquin, definitely up there. He definitely requires a lot of investment. If you don't have him, you know, at max rainbow stars, his damage will be a little bit low, but if you know, level him up to max rainbow, he's going to do insane damage. And to be honest, it's not really hard to limit break SSR units in this game. It's not really hard, but Joaquin, his rainbow, when you level him up, like when you level up his limit break to rainbow, max rainbow stars, his potential just increases by a huge amount, and he just does insane damage. So you definitely want to get Joaquin. And for his accuracy, he requires a decent amount of accuracy. You want to put a lot of evasion on him so that he can, you know, avoid enemy attacks. And you also want to focus on crit rate and crit damage so that he can do as much damage as possible. So yeah, Joaquin, he's definitely that top unit for sure. And another beginner unit that you can use, I'll say Narei. Now Narei, if you're mostly focusing on the beginning phase of adventure mode, she is not bad, but I would definitely recommend you guys to either bring her up to at least 3 blue stars or 3 green stars, because to be honest, she's not really a necessity at the end game because we have a lot of other characters who are just way better than her. But she is good at the beginning phase of the game. If you're trying to form like a purple team, she's definitely good for a purple team. But I'll say that Narray, if you don't have Kun Aguero, if you don't have Kaseya or Joaquin, Narray isn't a bad unit to use. And if you don't have Gusting, who's like an SSR plus unit, you definitely want to use Narray because she's actually pretty solid. So Narray, she's definitely up there for sure. Now, another good beginner character that you want to use for adventure mode is Rachel. Now Rachel, she's actually pretty solid, but the thing is, you have characters like Joaquin who just do way more damage. So Rachel at the late game, she's still good, but she's kind of pointless when you have other units who can do way better than her. But at the beginning phase of the game, she's just absolutely cracked. So I would still definitely recommend you guys to focus on units like Joaquin instead of units like Rachel. But if you want to try something new and want to invest in other characters beside, you know, meta characters, Rachel is definitely a good option because she's really good. She has a lot of AoE attacks, and she can basically group up enemies into like one spot. And if you pair her up with Kun Aguero, they work perfectly together because she's going to group up enemies into one location, and then Kun Aguero is going to use his special skill, and he's just going to do a mass AoE stun, and the enemy team, they're just going to be AFK the whole time. So Rachel is not a bad unit if you want to use her. Now, I'll say another crucial character that is really important for adventure mode early phase is Evan. Evan, he is insane at the early phase because of his immortality, which is his special skill. His special skill is insane. Like the fact that he's able to provide team immunity where they literally can't die for like a certain period of time, it's insane. So his special skill is what makes him really broken. So you definitely want to use a unit like Evan because he will carry you by a lot in the early phase of the game, and even in the late game he is still good. So you definitely want to get Evan for sure. And if you guys are wondering, you know, which set it's really good for him, you can use the Runda set, the max HP set. This is going to increase his max HP, and he's also going to give barrier to your allies. Or you can also use the brand new Doris set, which is going to increase his swiftness as well. So those are like the top two ignition weapons you want to put on him. But overall, Evan, amazing early character that you want to use in adventure mode. Now I'll say like those are like the top units you want to mainly focus on in the beginning phase of the game. If you want to focus on, you know, healers, I'll say Ruan Mei, she's a good healing unit. Like the fact that she's able to provide AoE barrier and she can also counter, Ruan Mei is a really good character. But if you're mostly focusing on, you know, trying to create a red team, like a team that includes Hwoarang, if you have a Vile, I'll say Xia, she's really good because she can buff up red element allies attack by a ton. So she's like really good for red element teams. So if you're trying to form a red element team, you definitely want to pick up Xia for sure. And she is really good at the early phase of the game, but at the late phase, her single target healing is kind of pointless because AoE healing is way more valuable at the late game, but in the early game, single target healing is still not bad. It's still pretty good. So Xia, awesome unit. So those are like the top two. I would say those are like the top two healing slash support units you want to use in the early phase. Of course, you have Evan, who's like the best healer unit at the beginning of the game because of that immortality. But Xia and Ruan Mei, they're really good together. So those are really like the top units I recommend you guys to use at the beginning phase of the game. Of course, there's other units like Khun Ran, Blanc, who's a good healer as well. But I feel like if we were to really talk about, you know, important characters that can carry you long term, I feel like Hwoarang, Yiwa, Joaquin, Evan, that is a hard, and also Uric Mazino. I almost forgot about this guy, Uric Mazino. He's an amazing warrior unit too. He can provide barrier to your whole team. He can also decrease the enemy's swiftness. He does a lot of knockback. This guy is insane. So if you have an Uric Mazino, you definitely want to use this guy. And by the way, it is flight Uric Mazino, not the data version. A lot of people are saying that the data version is kind of bad, but for the flight Uric Mazino, he's really good. So you definitely want to use this guy. So Flight Eric Mazino, definitely top unit for sure. Now for Data Machini, this is the thing about Data Machini. Data Machini is amazing beginning phase of the game, but in the late game, she doesn't really pop off in the late game, because the only thing that's really good about Khun Machini is the fact that she's able to become invincible for a certain period of time. Even if her HP is like, you know, 1% or 0%, she can just be invincible. That's like the good thing about her. But as of to right now, when you're in the late game, there's just other units who just do way more. For example, Eric Mazino, Gusting, Evan, they just do, they perform way better than Data Machini. So I would rather recommend you guys to invest in units that can perform good long term instead of short term. So you should definitely focus on Evan, Eric Mazino. Data Machini is good, but for the long term, like long term, I don't know. But if you want to use her, she is not a bad unit to use. And I almost forgot another unit, which is Child and Dorsey. Child and Dorsey is really cracked. Her damage is insane. She has energy recovery block. She can prevent the enemy from using her special skill. She can also do amazing damage, AoE damage, and she also has like a resurrection ability where if the enemy attacks her and she dies, she's going to place a mark on that enemy, and chances are if you kill that enemy before the mark goes away, she's going to revive herself. So Child and Dorsey, really awesome unit if you want to use her in the early phase of the game. She's still good in the late game, so Child and Dorsey, really good unit long term. So those are like the top units I for sure recommend you guys to use in the early phase of the game. Now when it comes to fighting bosses, I will say that Vespa is good. You definitely want to use this character against bosses because she's going to decrease the enemy's swiftness, which is really good, and she has damage over time. Another unit who's good against bosses is Blorode. If I come down over here, if I can actually find him, he is somewhere down here. Where's he? Okay, there he is. Blorode, he's also an amazing boss unit, and the reason why he's so good is because of his exclusive equipment. When we look at his level 4, he's basically going to set the boss's physical and magic resistance to 0. That is cracked. So you definitely want to use a unit like Blorode. He's absolutely amazing against bosses. And another unit who's also good against bosses is Rachel, but like I said, Rachel, she was part of the collaboration event, so brand new players won't have access to her. But Rachel is definitely a good unit you want to use against bosses. She does a lot of damage. And then another good unit who's absolutely insane against bosses is Verdi. If I can actually find her. Yo, it's so hard to find these characters. It's actually crazy. Here she is. Verdi, she is a cracked boss unit. You don't want to use her in adventure mode. She absolutely sucks in adventure mode, but for bosses, she does nuclear damage. She does insane damage. She can do over like 600 million damage against bosses. Her single target attack is just insane. So you definitely want to pick up Verdi if you're focusing on bosses. But I would definitely recommend you guys to mostly focus in adventure mode because that's how you're going to progress through the game and level up faster. So Verdi is definitely good against bosses. This guy is good against bosses as well. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really use him, but maybe in the future I'm gonna plan on using this guy because he's good against bosses apparently, so I might use him. And another unit who's pretty good against bosses is Shibisu. Shibisu is also pretty good. This guy's pretty insane against bosses as well. I probably might have to build him, but as up to right now, I'm mostly using Verdi, Vespa, Blorode, but I'm definitely going to invest in other characters, other boss characters for sure. But those are the top units you want to focus on. Of course, there's other units who are really good, but I feel like these units, the units that I just talked about, they are extremely important for like the early phase of the game. Kaseya included. I didn't talk about her, but Kaseya is also really good. But those are like the top units you definitely want to focus on at the beginning phase of the game because they're going to carry you extremely quickly and you're going to reach the late game if you use those characters. And if we're going to talk about wish lists, now your wish list, now ignore my wish list, don't focus on my wish list right now, but the wish list that you definitely should focus, like the wish list that you should create at the beginning phase of the game, like I said, you want to mainly get Hwarun. Hwarun is extremely important at the beginning phase of the game. I already have her maxed out, but you want to get Warun. You want to put Yiwa your second slot. You want to also put Joaquin. He's an amazing damage dealer. And you also want to put Bomb, but the thing is, Bomb, he requires low investment. So once you reach at least 3 blue stars or 3 purple stars, you can take Bomb out your wish list. And then another character who's going to be really good as well is, of course, Kunagoro. I say this is a pretty solid wish list you can form, but once you take out Bomb, you can also take out Bomb and put in Hats. But the thing is, Hats, he's good at the early phase of the game, but at the late game, he kind of falls off. He's really good in PvP, but for adventure mode, he really falls off really hard. So I would definitely recommend you guys to mostly bring him up to like red stars, and then once you bring him up to red stars, then you can just simply take him out, and then you can focus on probably like Gia or Ron May. So this is definitely like a wish list you should create if you're a brand new player. Now, chances of you obtaining an SSR plus in the standard banner is actually difficult. So there's like a brand new system called the black market. If we come over here to the black market, you can literally get an SSR plus of your choice by reaching 200 pity. The pity is really long, I'm not gonna lie, but this is like your best way of obtaining the SSR plus that you want. So if you guys are wondering, which SSR plus you should place in black market, like I said, if you don't have an Evan, you want to get Evan first. Evan is a requirement, or Dad is a Heart. These two are a requirement. Evan and Dad is a Heart are a requirement. They're just a requirement at this point. So if you don't have these two characters, you want to get them first. But if you have both of them, the next character you want to get is Flight Uric Mazno, because he is an amazing tank unit. So you want to get these 3 characters first, and then if you have Joaquin, Kaseya, Kunagoro, if you have those purple elements built, then you want to get Gusting, because Gusting is absolutely amazing in purple team. So Gusting, you want to pick him up if you already have your purple team set up. If you don't have your purple team set up yet, you should definitely focus on getting Evan, That is a Hard, or Uric Mazno first. Now for Karaka is not a bad unit to use, but he's going to require a decent amount of investment. So you want to focus on characters who require low investment, because Uric Mazno is pretty good low investment, but he really pops off once you get 3 blue stars on him. So those are like the top units you want to focus on. The top 3 units you want to focus on is Evan, That is a Hard, and Flight Uric Mazno. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back on Data Uric Mazno because I still don't have him, unfortunately. Now, when we move on over to other PvE content like Trial Area, Guardians Test, the Secret Floor, Mock Battle, and etc., Trial Area is extremely important because this is where you're going to get your enchantment extracts to basically level up your character's exclusive equipment. So this is how you're going to level up the character's exclusive equipment, which is Trial Area. You can't get the enchantment extracts through Trial of Chaos. You can only get them through the element trials. And then for Secret Floor, now you unlock Secret Floor by progressing through adventure mode. I forgot which floor you have to complete specifically in order for you to unlock Secret Floor, but all I know is that in order for you to unlock Secret Floor, you're gonna have to complete a certain floor in adventure mode in order for you to unlock this. And this is where you're going to unlock your ignition weapons to build your characters. And the way that you're going to unlock the ignition weapon for each character is that when you're leveling up the character's exclusive equipment, if I come over here to, let me just pick a random character. If you're going to level up a character's exclusive equipment, you have to level them up to level 2 so that you can unlock the carrier system. As you guys can see, there's 2 categories. You have the normal equipment and you have the carrier. So the normal equipment, this is just base stats and just guaranteed stats for you to level up your character's equipment and just make them strong. Like all these stats right here, they're guaranteed stats. You can't, there's no RNG with these stats at all. But for a carrier, this is where all the RNG is, and you're going to get different stats, different builds, and etc. The way you unlock carrier is by leveling up the character's exclusive equipment to level 2. If you don't have it to level 2, you won't be able to have the carrier, like you won't be able to have the carrier category. So if I click Bomb, for example, if I click Bomb, as you guys can see, he's level 1, so I don't have the carrier option. It says can be unlocked after reaching plus 20. So you have to reach level 2 to get carrier. You have to reach level 2 plus 20 in order for you to get the carrier unlocked. So That's pretty much, you know, exclusive equipment, trial area, stuff like that. And then for the mock battle facility, this is where you're going to fight bosses. And underground laboratories, this is where you're going to fight, you know, various bosses to, you know, show off, you know, your rankings and stuff like that. But mock battle, this is how you're going to get your equipment. And then arena is basically PvP, and that's pretty much it. And then Guardians test is just PvE, and you're just getting rewards weekly. Not rewards weekly, but it's going to reset weekly. And then you guys get what I'm saying. Guardians test is just simple PvE content, and that's it. So that's pretty much, you know, all the PvE we have in the game. Story mode, you want to progress through story mode so that you can get your summon tickets. And then of course adventure mode, this is the most important one of them all, because that's going to increase your account progression. But that's pretty much it for the beginner's guide video. I hope this video was able to help you guys out. Make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.